it's easier, right? Because it does feel like your heart is really in it, and you really want to do it.
Welcome to Side Hustle. I'm Queen City News Chief Business Correspondent Taylor Young and host of the show that's all about learning about the interesting ways people are making extra money on the side, also known as a side hustle. And before we introduce this week's guest, we are going to play a short video. Take a listen.
And I'm feeling like, wow, think I need to catch a ride home. Because the sun's coming up and it's morning. And I think this is as far as I go. The crew's still going harder and the world was gone for a minute. I'll push it to the limit.
So Jason Rojewicz, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Side Hustle.
Thank you so much for having me.
So that was kind of a short portion of a new song that you just recently dropped along with the music video. What is kind of going through your brain right now?
It's a big day. It's really awesome to be here and talk about the song. We have a performance tonight at Charlotte Beer Garden up on the rooftop. Expecting it to be pretty much shoulder to shoulder, so it's gonna be really cool. But this is a new artist persona of mine. I've had 3 other artist personas in the past, and through the experience through the music industry of having different companies and things like that, I'm really excited about this one because we're going to take all that experience and really make it happen this time.
And before we kind of get into the companies and how you kind of turned music into a side hustle, potentially a career, has music always been a part of your life? What kind of inspired you to become an artist?
Yeah, I think music has always lit a flame in me that nothing else has. And I've always kind of been this creative that's always touched as many types of mediums as possible. I really big into film. I did the music video myself just because I love editing. I shot a full-length movie in high school when I was a kid and sold copies of it. It was an hour and a half. It was just me and my dumb friends messing around.
Mm-hmm.
And but music is something different. It always, the flame never went out. Some things they feel like they get boring or they get old, but that never happened with music. So I always find myself, even when I kind of fall off or drift away from it, I always find myself coming back because it's just the best feeling of the world.
And talk about, we just saw a 15-second clip of your music video. We're going to show more. But what goes into something like that? It's not just about making music, right? Because you're shooting, you're editing, you're trying to get people to know about it. Kind of walk me through what that process is like.
I think people would be shocked to know how much effort it takes to make a professional radio-ready song. It's not just about getting a professional producer that can make the instrumental underneath you or making the instrumental yourself or recording the vocals and having it be super sharp. But there's so many steps and processes going into layering vocals and making sure everything meshes perfectly and then mixing of the process and mastering of the process. There's so many steps that go into just making the song that I think people just kind of think that an artist goes into the studio and records it and then it's done. But it's very much not the case. And especially when you think about releasing a song and the strategy behind it and all the PR and marketing and planning that goes into it, shooting a music video, all the work with, camera people and sound people and editing.
The extras in the background.
The extras, right. The location shooting, finding the locations and the shoots, and the shots. It's an insane process. And as a musician, you have to wear so many hats now because, it's not like it was before, right? Like the record labels aren't discovering people off the street anymore. You have to become famous yourself. So you have to do all of it yourself in the beginning.
And now, not only are you an artist and musician dropping music, you also want to help people do that. So you have started a record label here in Charlotte. What kind of sparked you from going from an artist to also an entrepreneur?
Yeah. Well, you see my crazy suit that I have on. It's all ripped up. And this is kind of like my artist costume or like, I don't know, it's like a metaphor for the two sides of me. And I feel myself getting pulled between the musician side of me and the business side of me a lot. When I moved to Charlotte from New York City 5 years ago, and in New York City, we had a lot of friends that were deep in the industry. We were doing a lot of cool things, going to a lot of exclusive events. And I always had it in my mind that I wanted to be an artist, but I thought so much that I needed to know people, right? Like it's all about who you know. Like people like really dig that into your brain. So I started a company that was called the New York Topliner Camp. And essentially what it was if you're a songwriter or producer, you join my program and you have 3 weeks, you get put on a team of 2 songwriters and 2 producers, and you have 3 weeks to create a song. And at the end of the 3 weeks, you present it to major record labels.
Wow.
And it was really amazing because all the record labels came out for it. I mean, we had Warner, Sony, Republic Records, RCA, people who represented Justin Bieber and Shakira come to my event because it was in New York City and it was just nobody was doing anything like it. And I was making, and it was crazy because I got pulled into this business and the business really started working.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, on fire and it was blowing up. And all of a sudden I found myself not making music anymore, So I think there really is that kind of, push and pull within me. But so I kind of want to use both of those sides here in Charlotte because the scene in Charlotte there's a lot of live music. There's a blossoming music scene here. There's tons of live music venues and tons of artists making music, but there's not the next big thing coming out of Charlotte. And I think that's really because there's not industry here. There's not record labels. There's not people that understand how to make that happen. And from my experience in New York and the friends and people that I have there, I do have the capability of doing that.
So walk me through what it would be like to sign an artist? Like, what does that process look like?
Yeah, so there's 2 different ways to sign an artist. So I've signed artists before as a manager. So you can sign. So as a record label, you would sign an artist to like represent them or a manager, right? So that's one way of signing an artist is to fully represent or work with that artist. On the other side, there are ways to sign singles or sign albums. So you have a lot of record labels like if you've heard of Monster Cat, or there's a lot of this in electronic music where they will sign a album or a song, and essentially what that looks like is they basically put funding against it. You have advertising budget. Like what we would do if you signed with my record label is we would fully build out a release strategy for you. We would do photo shoots, video shoots, have a full plan, put social media ad budget, and then also, of course, promoting it PR to news stations, publications, blogs, things like that. So really the holistic release strategy. And that's always something that I've been really good at and that I am really excited about. So that's what it would look like for me to sign a song.
Yeah. And for any side hustle, I think that there's a lot, obviously, that goes into it. When we're talking about a music label, I'm sure there's legal, you have to have a team behind you. What was it like from starting from zero to kind of getting where you are today?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, ChatGPT helps a lot.
I'm glad that you admit that.
Yeah, when it comes to the legal stuff. I mean, don't put all your eggs into the basket, but ChatGPT is a nice start, and it definitely helps to at least kind of the high level view. The music industry was created by lawyers, and the law is so intense and detailed of how to own things. Because how do you make money off something that is sound, right?
Yeah.
It's very difficult. So there's all sorts of royalties that go against it. And honestly, we like to keep it simple. You know what I mean? Just a straight percentage for either everything minus a couple things, or, it really depends on what the artist wants to do. Because some artists, especially these days, are really, really well versed in the laws. They know how it works. They know how the industry works, as they should be. Like people that are doing it, who are artists who are wanting to become famous and wanting to, work in the industry, are mostly well versed in it. Some people go a little bit too far though. So we just try to keep it as simple as possible, as transparent, simple as possible.
Yeah, because I could imagine it would be really intimidating. So on that note, we're going to take a very quick break. We'll be right back. So with any side hustle, I could imagine the goal is to make money, right? To be able to support yourself outside of your 9-to-5. But when it comes to this, I could imagine there's a lot of investing that goes into it first. Kind of where are you in that process?
Yeah, as most people know, there isn't a ton of money in music.
Yeah.
At least in the beginning, right? It's a building process. It's an investment in itself. So the goal of the label is to really build a following and a community around the label. It's the Charlotte record label. That's what we're looking for. We want it to feel like it is Charlotte's baby, right? It is Charlotte's thing. Because it really is. We want to give artists here and in the surrounding areas a platform, right? So it's a building process. As long as we're getting good music, that music will have legs. It'll build onto itself based on the strategies that we're doing. And the money will be slow in the beginning, but as it builds, it will get bigger. So it's one of those things that is an investment, but it's also residual.
Yeah.
Right? Because if a song's great and people like it and they keep going back to it, forever, we get paid a little tiny bit every time.
So is this something that, at least at first, you're kind of funding out of pocket?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah. Just like most businesses, you need to have some investment up front. So luckily we do.
Yeah. And then down the road, how do you kind of make a substantial amount of money? Is it merch? Is it contracts with artists? Is it from sales? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I'd say the majority of money in music is made for live performances, of course. Now, as a record label, that would be kind of less our bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
But since we do want to be kind of these Charlotte sweethearts, we would obviously be trying to do live events, trying to do live things that drive ticket sales. But for us, it's really like the goal is really to just get that snowball rolling and to release consistently every 2 to 3 weeks, a new song from either one of our baby artists or one of our, home artists or a new artist, right? And just consistently releasing music. And if we could keep that ball rolling, then we build an audience for the record label. So each new release gets more eyes, more streams, more traction, and they get bigger and bigger. And it also propels the ones from before as well, because people are going to dig through that discography.
Yeah.
And I mean, streaming, there's not a ton of money in it when you're first getting started, but it does pay off in the long run if you continue and you start to actually build a fan base. It really does pay off.
Okay. And with every side hustle, you most likely have a full-time job. You work a 9-to-5 job.
That's right.
How do you manage this side hustle that is extremely layered, right, with working 40 hours a week, 40 plus hours a week?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it really has to do with prioritization, right? Time management, basic things that everybody would think. But you want to be able to do a really good job at everything you do. So I think it's really important to prioritize and to learn how to cut the fat of things that aren't important to doing a really good job, either in your day job, in your side hustle, or whatever. And that takes really understanding where the value lies in the actions that you're taking, and also the amount of effort, right? So prioritization is value, by effort, right? Ratio between value and effort. So less effort, more value. Those are the ones that are low hanging fruit. And that's what I'm going to be doing first.
What does an average week look like for you?
Oh, goodness.
Is that a triggering question?
This week is crazy. So this week has definitely been abnormal. I don't know. Every week is different, right? Sometimes there's really easy weeks. Sometimes there's really hard weeks. Sometimes the walls are falling down on everything at once, right? And it happens. And I think those times are the biggest challenge, but they make you better. They make you faster. They make you more efficient. And then, after one of those big ones, everything else seems a little bit easier. So I think that it's always kind of a ebb and flow, but in the end, it's not so bad.
And again, I think like with every guest I've had on here, a lot of every side hustle really has been something that they feel passionate about. So I'm sure sometimes it doesn't necessarily feel like work if you're in the studio or how does it feel?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I've had side hustles basically my entire career, creative and non-creative. And they always feel like a lot of work. They're always very exciting in the beginning, and then it becomes kind of a dread. But
the reality of what I signed myself up for.
Right. Getting it across that line where it's actually paying off is really challenging for side hustles a lot. But the music feels natural. It feels like I'm back on my purpose. I'm back on my track. So for me, it's fun to really bang my head against the computer for a couple hours with music than other things and spreadsheets and stuff like that, obviously, right? Yeah. Even the stuff that kind of sucks, like, planning the marketing campaigns and running, ad spend and stuff like that and Facebook or whatever with these ad platforms are terrible. But even stuff like that, it's still better because I don't know, it's easier, right? Because it does feel like your heart is really in it and you really want to do it. You're driven a lot more, I think.
Where do you see this going? let's just say in 5 years from now? Where would you like to see this side hustle be at?
I'm gonna be famous. uh, I would really like to have a successful artist career. I really want to grow my own music. I think I've been making music my whole life, but it's finally gotten to a level of quality where I know it's good, which is I'm the biggest critic, right? So I think that it is a special time in an artist's career when, because everybody wants to feel like, is this good? Is it not? I mean, it's art, right? So you
Yeah.
never really know, and it's all subjective, but
And you never know if people are being honest with you either.
exactly, right? Exactly. But I think that I have reached a point, and a lot of artists have talked about this when they just know, and it's in all sorts of books about like music where, you really shouldn't be investing a ton of your time into your music until you can feel it, that it's good. And I have just gotten to that place now. So I think that I'd really like to see my own music take off and be able to reinvest. And like I said, I mean, when was the last time Charlotte had a next big thing? It's been a while. I mean, what, DaBaby, right? Like, it's been a while.
That was the first one that came to my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, I think DaBaby. I mean, J. Cole came out of Charlotte and DaBaby, and I mean, those guys. It's been ages, right? So I think being able to build that and to make not just one person, but multiple people coming out and making that platform to where record labels are looking at Charlotte as a place that is like a Nashville or even like in Atlanta, where artists are coming up, where there is a scene that people are getting famous and people are, having national exposure.
Well, great. Well, we will take one more quick break. We'll be right back. So at the beginning of the episode, we saw a snippet of your song, Think I Need to Catch a Ride Home. What inspired you for that song?
Well, that song is all about partying, but it's about more than that. I think so. That song actually goes together with my whole theme, and I actually I have an EP that's ready to release, and I was planning to do a different song actually for my first release, but then that song just kind of came, and it was like one of those creative moments where it just comes together instantly so fast, and I chose to do that one first because it really represents my whole artist theme of this kind of duality between the business side of me and the like reckless side of me. So it just fits so perfectly because it really is like the song is about wanting to stay out late, wanting to go harder with your friends, wanting to party harder, and that little voice in the back of your head that's kind of pulling you back into society and pulling you into the cage of the day-to-day that we build around ourselves. And I think it's for those, I wrote it for those weekend warriors that, you know what I mean, that are responsible during the week and let it go during the weekend. Because I think that obviously I relate to that a lot. I think a lot of people relate to that. And especially like in our generation, I feel like a lot of my friends are kind of on that level and they're very responsible and they make a lot of money and they're great at what they do, but they still like to get a little crazy on the weekends. And
Proof a party song can be deep.
Yeah. Yeah. I always try to do that. I always try to put some kind of weird twist on it, like some kind of fun, easy, catchy thing. But then like if you listen a little bit hard, it's like, oh wow, there's a little message there.
So we were talking about Charlotte earlier, which I know that there have been some pretty big artists to come out of here, but I don't necessarily think the Queen City is known for its music scene like Nashville or, other metropolitan areas. Were you trying to kind of fill a gap here?
Yeah, I'd like to. I mean, I think that there's a lot of people that would like to see Charlotte on that level. I've talked to people in city council. I talked to, major players around the city, and everyone agrees that Charlotte has a vibrant artist scene, right? But like I said, it's not really propelling artists, right? There isn't that industry here that is built to allow artists to get national exposure, right? You kind of got to build a local following here and then go somewhere else, right? You have to get picked up by somewhere in New York or LA to really come out of here. And the artists that have, exploded out of Charlotte, they've made it in other cities after moving, right? And Charlotte is a new small city, not small, but it's a newer city and growing so fast. So really like it to be a staple that, in 50 years we look back and we're like, wow, man, look at what this has become,
And for people who dream of doing that, I could imagine that breaking through in this industry has really evolved over the last decade, 2 decades, given social media, with TikTok, with sounds going viral. Do you think that has made it harder or easier to break through?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely changed everything. So some things are easier and some things are harder. So it's very easy to get a little bit of fame, right? It's easy to have a viral video. And when I say easy, it's not easy. I mean, people spend still, years before they actually get a
Hmm.
viral video, even on TikTok, right? But it's definitely not easy, but it's more accessible, I would say. But when it comes to actually building a fan base is harder. And also getting to those upper levels like a Taylor Swift or a Post Malone, because now, all of the label dollars are focused all at the top, right? And labels are in a very interesting place where back in the, 90s, early 2000s, when we had Britney Spears and Rihanna and, NSYNC, stuff like that, those people were discovered, right? They didn't build their following by themselves. They were discovered by a record label. The record label pumped money into their music, and they were basically a corporation out the gate. Where you don't see that anymore. You have artists need to really build themselves. They need to build a following, or they need to have some kind of viral moment that they're able to capture and hold on to, that will propel them to get those kinds of investors. And labels these days, they just cherry pick people who are already famous. So I think it's harder. It's easier to get a little bit of fame, and it's easier to get an audience, but it's harder to hold on to it, and it's harder to propel yourself into those upper levels because people are just always on to the next meme, on to the next person, on to the next trend. So it's really hard to hold people's attention now.
So, if you had to give advice for anyone who's listening, maybe they are a musician, what would you say to them if they're thinking like, I could make money from this? Maybe not just playing at a bar or a restaurant. What would you say to them of getting into this?
I would say focus on your music first. Make sure that the music is good, right? Because it's so easy to worry about social media and think about going viral all the time. It's just stuffed down our throats so much as artists and musicians, right? That we need to have a social media presence. But it's not really true. If you have a really good song, most likely it's going to get legs. But it's also about having the habits and the processes that are going to allow you to continue to make music when things happen and continue to make music at a certain level. Because if you're putting out good music consistently, social media is less important, right? Spotify and other streaming platforms have algorithms that will propel good music automatically. So if you're releasing good music and you're making good music, that's the most important thing. Social media is secondary. Once you are in that place that you're putting out stuff consistently, you have the processes and the people to make good music, then you can start thinking about social media.
So, what do you see next? Do you have anything big coming up?
Yeah,
Give
yeah.
us some secret. Give us the inside scoop.
Yeah. So I'll be releasing a bunch of music. I represent another artist who will be releasing under the record label. We've already been talking to a couple other artists about releasing under the record label. But for me personally, I will have an EP coming out of all of this, like kind of alt R&B, alt hip hop music, and then next for me, we're probably going to start a band called Owe and the Buzz, and that'll be fun because I've actually been writing a lot of country music these days.
That's very different than your first.
And see, that's the problem, right? That's the challenge where, if you're starting as an artist, you don't want to confuse the algorithm so you don't want to like post or you want to release a song that's a different genre than the rest of your music. And I had a really good idea a couple weeks ago where I wasn't going to release it under Oway. I was going to release it under Oway and the Buzz. So it's still the same artist. So I don't have to promote two different artists, profiles, right? I don't have to start from scratch with this new artist profile. I'll be able to promote it through both. But it'll be different on Spotify, so Spotify will be able to stick to the genre for that. So I'm excited about that.
Exciting. And I'm going to end on another dreamer question. If you could collab with any artist out there, who's kind of your dream collaboration?
Dang, that's a good one. I mean, I do really like Post Malone. I think, and especially I see a lot of similarities. Like
he's got country, he's got rap,
and that's the thing about Post Malone is he's clearly a super cool guy in general. Like it'd be awesome to party with Post Malone. But I think he clearly is in it for the artistry, right? He's clearly, I mean, I think that people don't really recognize Post Malone as one of the best songwriters of our generation, but he really is. I mean, he came out the gate with so many hits, and he has kind of kept his level there. And I think he might get a little hate for like switching to country or whatever, but I mean, dude's a hit machine, and I think that he's very much grassroots, and I think that he's very authentic with his sound, and I'm sure that he's writing a lot of his own music and is really kind of driving it as opposed to a team or a label driving it for him.
All right. Well, there you go. Post, if you see this, here's your guy. Come get your guy. Well, Jason, thank you so much. Tell everyone where they can find your song.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. You can find it on Spotify. My name is OWAE, Owe. My Instagram handle is owae.mp3. You could, find it there. Gold Rush Records. It's on Instagram as well. Check us out.
All right, thank you.
Oh wait, so we'll be having some shows as well, so you might be seeing some of that.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right, that was Side Hustle. We'll see you next time.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.